going shopping in the village, George's mother said to George on Saturday morning. So be a good boy and don't get up to mischief. Well, this is a silly thing to say to a small boy at any time. It immediately made him wonder what sort of mischief he might get up to. And don't forget to give Grandma her medicine at 11 o'clock, his mother said. Then out she went, closing the back door behind her. Grandma, who was dozing in her chair by the window, opened one wicked little eye and said, "Now you heard your mother, George. Don't forget my medicine." "No, Grandma," said George. "And just try and behave yourself for once while she's away." "Yes, Grandma," said George. Looking after that grisly old grunion of a grandma all by himself was hardly the most exciting way to spend a Saturday morning. His father was a farmer, and the farm they lived on was miles away from anywhere, so there was never any children to play with, and he was tired of staring out the window at pigs and cows and hens and sheep. "You can make me a nice cup of tea for a start," Grandma said to George. "That'll keep you out of mischief for a few minutes." "Yes, Grandma," said George. He couldn't help disliking Grandma. She was a selfish, grumpy old woman. She had pale brown teeth and a small, puckered-up mouth. It was like a dog's bottom. "How much sugar in your tea today, Grandma?" George asked her. "1 spoon, she said, "and no milk." And most grandmothers are lovely, kind, helpful old ladies, but not this one. She spent all day and every day sitting in her chair by the window, and she was always complaining and grousing, grouching, grumbling and griping about something or other. Never once, even on her best days, had she smiled at George and said, "Well, how are you this morning, George?" Or, "Hey, why don't you and me have a game of snakes and ladders?" Or, "How was school today, George?" She didn't seem to care about other people. She was a miserable old grouch. George went into the kitchen and made Grandma a cup of tea with a tea bag. He put 1 spoon of sugar in it and no milk. He stirred the sugar well and carried the cup into the living room. Grandma sipped the tea. "It's not sweet enough," she said. "Put more sugar in." So George took the cup back to the kitchen and added another spoonful of sugar. He stirred it again and carried it carefully into Grandma. "Where's the saucer?" she said. "I won't have a cup without a saucer." So George fetched her a saucer. "And what about a teaspoon, if you please?" "I stirred it for you, Grandma. I stirred it well." "I'll stir my own tea, thank you very much," she said. "Fetch me a teaspoon." So George fetched her a teaspoon. When George's mother or father were at home, Grandma never ordered George about like this. It was only when she had him on her own that she began treating him badly. "You know what's the matter with you?" the old woman said, staring at George over the rim of her teacup with those bright, wicked little eyes. "You're growing too fast. Boys who grow too fast become stupid and lazy." "I can't help it if I'm growing fast, Grandma," George said. "Of course you can," she snapped. "Growing's a nasty, childish habit." "But we have to grow, Grandma. If we didn't grow, we'd never be grown-ups." Grandma snorted. "Rubbish, boy. Rubbish. Look at me. Am I growing? Certainly not." "Ah, but you did once, Grandma." "Only very little," the old woman answered. "I gave up growing when I was extremely small, along with all the other nasty, childish habits, like laziness and disobedience and greed and sloppiness and untidiness and stupidity. You haven't given up any of those things, have you?" "Well, I'm still only a little boy, Grandma." "You're 8 years old," she snorted. "That's old enough to know better. If you don't stop growing soon, it'll be too late." "Too late for what, Grandma?" Well, shut up, George. It's ridiculous. You're nearly as tall as me already. George took a good look at Grandma. She certainly was a very tiny person. Her legs were so short, she had to have a footstool to put her feet on. And her head only came halfway up the back of the armchair. "Daddy says it's fine for a man to be tall," George said. "Don't listen to your daddy," said Grandma. "You listen to me." "But how do I stop myself growing?" George asked her. "You eat less chocolate," Grandma said. "What, does chocolate make you grow?" "It makes you grow the wrong way," she snapped. "Up instead of down," Grandma sipped some tea. Yeah. But she never took her eyes from the little boy who stood before her. Never grow up, she said. Always grow down. And stop eating chocolate. Eat cabbage instead. Oh, cabbage? Oh, no. I don't like cabbage, said George. It's not what you like or what you don't like, Grandma snapped. It's what's good for you that counts.